Wulf here with another CD review. This time it's actually, I believe, the first country album that I've ever reviewed on the channel. It is Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs from Marty Robbins. Now, before I get into this review, I want to mention two things to keep in mind as I go about it. This album was originally released in 1959, so the sound quality of the actual music is not necessarily the greatest compared to nowadays, but, you think about it, it's a 60-year-old recording. It's not going to sound as great as a modern recording, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the quality of the lyrics and the actual songs and everything. Also, I believe that this is the type of album that has changed hands, like when it comes to rights multiple times, because the original recording was released on vinyl in 1959, and then the first CD version of this was released in 1999, but this version of the album, it looks like, was created in 2011. So, given that it's one of these albums that's like so popular and has probably had a bunch of different versions of it, this is probably one of these scenarios where a company bought the rights to it and just like sort of made the albums without necessarily putting a whole ton of focus into cover art, but I'm not really for sure about that because I haven't actually seen any other versions of it other than this 2011 release. Anyway though, onto the artwork. Like always, on the cover here you have a cowboy looking character on the left, and then Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs, Marty Robbins, and actually a track list on the front, and then original recording down the bottom right, which again, like I said, keep in mind 60-year-old original recording, so quality wise, but it doesn't sound bad. It just sounds a little crackly and stuff, I guess is the best way to put it. But it's interesting to have a track list on the front of an album. I haven't really seen that before. It's a unique choice. Track lists are always good wherever you put them. So there's that. Also in the little hinge on the left, you can see Hallmark Music and Entertainment. That's who apparently created this, although on the back it says the Pickwick Group. So anyway, the cover does what it needs to do. Got the album name, artist name, and even the tracks, and you can tell it's a cowboy album because there's a cowboy on the front. Like I said, one of these scenarios where you gotta remember the album is very old, and also that it's probably changed hands a pretty good number of times, so not necessarily looking for a whole lot in this artwork. On the side here you have Marty Robbins, Gunfighter Ballads, and Trail Songs once again, so artist name and album name, good to have. And like I said, for this album, really not expecting it to do very much because of age and everything. So again, onto the back, you have the track list once again, which is nice to have that again, I guess. That's really the only thing on the back except for some label information. So moving on from that, not really much else to say there. Opening up the album, you will see you have Marty Robbins, Gunfighter Ballads, and Trail Songs, and then, don't copy the CD and stuff like that written on there. So the CD is also pink like the rest of the album, which I will say I don't really quite understand why the color pink was chosen, because pink is not a color that I traditionally associate with cowboys, but nonetheless, it's there. I'm just surprised that they didn't go with like a red or something. But yeah, name of the artist and name of the album on the CD itself is good, because like if you ever lose the CD case or anything like that, that's good to have there. I will say it's a little bit weird that they decided to write it in reflective, but it's not covered enough in the reflective that it would probably attract fingerprints or anything, so it again, does what it needs to do, and I'm not really looking for a ton with the artwork of this album. Underneath the CD, you have the cowboy once again, just kind of staring you down. And yeah, then on the insert, on the back of the insert, you have the track list again. And on the inside of the insert, this is actually the first of any of the albums that I've reviewed where I've seen this, but it actually acts as like an advertisement for other albums. There's a whole bunch of other albums listed in here that I believe came out around the same time period, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later on. But yeah, it's kind of cool that I guess they've got, like, here's some other stuff you can get if you want. And I think I've actually seen some of these for sale in the store where I didn't buy this, but where I bought the, sequel album to this. So yeah, there's that. It's kind of interesting. And that's about it for the artwork. Like I said, this artwork is very simple and straightforward. However, the album is a pretty well-known album in the world of cowboy country music, and it's old. It's very old. Like I keep saying, 60 years old. Originally was released in 1959, and the rights of it have changed multiple times, I believe. So even though the artwork isn't anything super duper special, I don't think you can really expect that much of it for being so old and possibly being just sort of a we have the rights to it now, pump out CDs sort of thing. But onto the music. the music of this album is actually very, very good. Now, personally, country music is not necessarily a genre that I listen to a whole bunch, but I remember one day thinking to myself about a song from Fallout New Vegas, and I started looking up songs from Fallout New Vegas, which is a video game if you don't know. And one of the songs in Fallout New Vegas is Big Iron. So I ended up listening to it, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna buy the whole album, why not? And I'm glad that I did, because even though I don't usually listen to country music, this album, and I believe other songs from Marty Robbins in general, tend to do one of my favorite things ever, which is tell a story. Also, speaking of the fact about by Marty Robbins, that reminds me, if you look at the track list on the back of the insert, you will see that although all of the songs on this album are performed by Marty Robbins, not all of them are written by Marty Robbins. You can see on the back of the insert that it has the names of the original writers of all the songs. Now, a bunch of them are written by Marty Robbins, but not all of them, so that's another thing, I guess, to keep in mind, but, Marty Robbins is the one singing all of them, so anyway. But yeah, so the songs, they just sound good. I mean, like, the actual audio quality isn't great, but the instruments used and everything mix together real well and mesh together real well and sound like the sort of thing. It truly does sound like the sort of stuff you would hear around, like, a cowboy campfire. Like, it tells stories about outlaws, bounty hunters, cowboys, and sheriffs and stuff like that. It's what I would want from a cowboy country album. It really is, like, everything that you would expect in the name Cowboy Country, and especially in the name Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs. It tells stories and it sounds like Western music, and I don't really think that you could ask for much else from it. And even if you're not really a huge fan of country, I'd say that it's really not a bad idea to check this out, because it's not really country in the modern sense of it. It doesn't talk about trucks and beer and stuff like that, although not all country is like that, but it's not at all like the overly commercialized country music that a lot of people dislike today, partly because it was created however many years ago, but also the fact that it is specifically cowboy country, so it doesn't focus on more modern aspects of like country music and stuff like that. It focuses more on the origin of that idea of like country life and stuff with cowboys. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good album. I'm pretty sure you could probably find it online because it's so old. It's bound to be at this point online on different places. If it sounds like anything you might be interested in, like even in the slightest, I know with Red Dead Redemption 2 having come out like last year, I think at the time of this recording, that country music and cowboys and stuff have been kind of on the rise and everything. So check it out. Like honestly, I'm kind of surprised with myself to be recommending a country album, but it's really a good one. And like I said, all the songs tell stories and stuff, and it does more than just be music at that point. It also is storytelling, which I think is important in really any genre of music. So yeah, that's the review, I guess. Thanks for watching. See you guys in future reviews. At some point I'm going to do the follow-up to this album, and that album is called More Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs, which I have sitting on the shelf right now but just haven't listened to yet. Anyway though, thanks for watching. See you guys in future videos, and bye-bye.